Greetings, everyone, and welcome. August the 16th, 2025. We're approaching 10 p.m. here in Ukraine. I can tell you that we're under air alarm in several regions, and shaheeds are flying tonight already. Now, all of us are still trying to wrap our head around the great summit in Alaska, where it's blatantly obvious that Vladimir Putin did come out ahead on that. And in my opinion, it was a complete steamroll. But we've discussed that. We followed that on the live. I gave a follow up with it this morning. If you missed that video, you can check it out. But I waited until later tonight in Ukraine so I could give you the latest information on where Zelensky stands, if Putin has said anything after the meeting, which he has. I have that for you. I also have a statement by a Ukrainian analyst that I follow. I don't have permission to give his name, but I can share the statement. I think it's very powerful. And in addition to that, we've got a lot of trolling going on in Ukraine and in Russia. So thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do, for subscribing, liking, commenting, and helping us share the truth. Let's get straight to it. Once again today, President Vladimir Zelensky making it very, very clear that Donetsk is Ukraine. That region is Ukraine. There will be no land swap. And we are even hearing late tonight in Ukraine that, of course, this is coming out of Russian media, but also some Ukrainian media and analysts that I follow, where Trump was talking positively in those negotiations about freezing the point of contact in Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, in addition to swap land. Basically, Ukraine pull out of Donetsk, give up Lugansk, and maybe get a little bit back in Sumy and Kharkiv. So that was on the table. I'm very confident that those things were discussed in that meeting. And, this gets to the point when you think about it, there was supposed to be a big lunch. I mean, the menu was there. All of these little private meetings were supposed to unfold for the next 3 hours. None of that happened. And basically, we see that we ended up with a show. And the show was a setup for the onus to be put on Ukraine, the onus to be put on Zelensky, the European Union, for Putin to be put back on the global stage, shaking hands with President Trump, and to get back to Moscow. So that's what's going to be unfolding next week. You're going to see immense pressure come on to Ukraine. So what has Zelensky said today? Zelensky stated, "I'm trying to clarify why Trump chose to not push the agreed upon sudden demand that Moscow agree to a ceasefire." So with the EU call, Zelensky and Trump, there was a pre-talk before the summit, and Donald Trump was supposed to be pushing a full ceasefire. Well, as of today, Russian media and Ukrainian media both saying that ceasefire was not even discussed in the 3 hours. Secondly, Zelensky stands by Ukraine refusing to simply hand over the entire Donbass to Russia in exchange for a peace agreement. Once again, we see the difference. Ceasefire, then negotiations. No. We, meaning that summit, Trump, Putin, and the pressure that will come is just to go straight to a peace agreement. Not going to happen. And Zelensky also today informing the Ukrainian people that he expects, Ukrainian military expects, a heavy increase of Russian assaults on the front, multiple lines, including air attacks as well. So be wary and be on the alert. Obey the air alarms. Now, Vladimir Putin also returned to Moscow, went straight to work, right back to the Kremlin, having meetings. I'm going to show you a video clip. I voiced it over for you. You'll see Lavrov sitting there. You'll see Medvedev sitting there. He said Russia would rather see an end to hostilities in Ukraine, but once again, doubling down, eliminating the root cause of the crisis should be the basis for a settlement, period. Now, a reminder, this is now after the summit. So he's free rein to say whatever he wants to say. Russia calmly and in detail outlined its position on the situation in Ukraine. Moscow respects the U.S. position on the issue. The visit to Alaska is timely, very useful. The President of the United States discussed resolving the Ukrainian crisis on a fair basis. Fair for who? Fair for who? Fair for Russia. The regions in our Constitution the right to the Russian language, the Russian Orthodox Church, and further security guarantees for Ukraine remain our objectives. Now, I have the video for you, and here it is. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. I asked you to gather in order to inform you about the results of our visit, the visit of our delegation to the United States, to Alaska. I would like to immediately note that the visit was timely, that the visit was very useful. We discussed practically all areas of our cooperation, but first of all, of course, we talked about a possible resolution of the Ukrainian crisis on a fair basis. And of course, we had the opportunity, which we did, to talk about the genesis, about the causes of the crisis, and it is precisely the elimination of these root causes that should form the basis of the settlement. We haven't had direct negotiations of this kind at this level for a long time. I repeat once again, there was an opportunity to calmly and in detail once again set out our position. We, of course, respect the position of the American administration, which sees the need for a speedy into the military action, and we would also like this and would like to move to resolving all issues by peaceful means. The conversation was very frank, informative, and in my opinion, this brings us closer. I will now tell you in detail about the entire course of the conversation. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. So there you have it. That was Putin talking to the key council, the key leadership there. You saw Dmitriev, you saw Medvedev, Ushakov, Lavrov. They're all there. And of course, many of those were in Alaska as well. He's very concise, very clear, point blank, articulating good meetings with the U.S. Everything is great. Relationships are growing. And we all want to see a fair end to this conflict. Nothing about peace, nothing about negotiations, but a fair settlement, a fair end. And we know what that means. He went on to discuss in detail later of the same thing, the 4 regions, the language, the Orthodox Church, you name it, and security guarantees that would come from Russia. So I'm not sure if in fact we have not went backwards a little bit. And this is why I want to share this with you, Analyst. I completely concur with this. Trump, instead of choosing a position of strength, uniting European leaders into a coalition, imposing all possible sanctions and secondary sanctions against Russia, providing Ukraine with the maximum amount of weapons, imposing tariffs on everyone who buys Russian oil and gas, chose the path of humiliating shame. He met Putin with honors on the red carpet. Now, we are returning to the time when we were stretched, forced to agree to the Kremlin's conditions and give up territories, and added a bunch of new nonsense. Instead of bending Russia to the maximum and negotiating from the position of strength, they are again, the USA, broadcasting and Russia its conditions. But again, last statement so key, especially in lieu of the upcoming meeting on Monday with Zelensky in DC and possibly other European leaders there as well. But again, we will be the ones, Ukraine, to blame because we do not want to give up our territory and without any real guarantees. Ukraine in a very difficult and complicated position right now, but they stand strong. And we take it day by day. That's why I've waited till later in the evening to give the final update for today. Now, both Russia and Ukraine, both are, I don't know how to say this the best way other than they're just trolling the United States and the misunderstanding of everything in regard to this war, even down to language and alphabet. And I hate to say it, but both Russia and Ukraine are trolling this because it shows a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding. And you're saying, okay, Greg, what are you talking about? I'm talking about this right here. You can see at the top where it looks like a POCCNR. This is what's being rolled through Russia and rolled through Ukraine. Just saying the American media, they know nothing about our region of the world. Listen to this.
Air Force One, larger than the Russian plane. By the way, I was just looking it up, satisfying my own curiosity. POCCNR, Russian for Russia.
POCCNR, Russian for Russia, and our plane is bigger. Okay, guys. Will Kane, POCCNR? No. Oh, and I looked it up. He looked it up. No, you didn't. Because if you looked it up, you would know that it's not POCCNR. It's actually ROSSE, ya. Rossiya. And tonight, once again, not only were we inept and even able to handle audio at a summit of the greatest scale in Alaska, complete failure technically. Now our media there on Fox News and Will Kane, we're spelling the plain letters of the Russian delegation, POCCNR. And of course, once again, a laughingstock. I hate to say it, but there's just so much ineptness in the American coverage, the American understanding of anything in regard to Russia, in regard to Ukraine. And that is a tragedy when the United States is seen right now as still the key force to bring a resolution to this war. We shall see day by day. Thank you for being here. This is where we're at tonight as of 10 o'clock here in Ukraine. You guys be blessed, and we'll see you tomorrow.